Good evening, my Dharma brother and sister, also my study partners. And okay, anyway, so also thank you so much for reciting the Heart Sutra. When we recite the Heart Sutra, I feel we are so lucky. We are very fortunate people because at this moment there are I don't know how many billions of people on the planet, and most of them very busy, and most of them also ignore Dharma, and some of them reject Dharma. But even though we are so busy in Singapore, but even though you find some time for spending with the Dharma, I think it is very fortunate for us. And also, so usually we recite a lot of mantra and chanting. Also, Heart Sutra is one of the important and like a text, and also it is the essence of all put together all Buddha teaching. So we are very fortunate to have a time for reciting Heart Sutra. So in the future, it is not just enough, that reciting the Heart Sutra. We must know the meaning, and we try to put practice in day-to-day life. First, and secondly, so I will talk more about mind and mental factors. So I mentioned before, so mind is very important mechanism, very important, because look at, we have a lot of problems with the family level, with the state level, with the national nation level. Most of the problem arise or come from by mind. Sometimes we have a lot of fighting between nation and nation. We have a lot of fighting with the family and brother and sister. The fighting, the problem also arising through mind. So also in this moment, everybody talk about harmonious, peaceful world. We really look world which is totally peaceful. So in order to have a world peaceful, very peaceful world, very peaceful nation, also the mind is one of the important. And also, we always talking harmonious with the family, brother and sister, or harmonious between couples, harmony with the nations. So also in order to have harmonious, so this is one key thing, which is we have to control our minds. We have to control our emotions. So in order to control our minds, so that's why first we have to know, we must understand our own minds. And also, in order to have a peaceful life, happy life, also there's only one way. There's only one way we can have a peaceful life, happy life, through tend or your minds. So Buddha Dharma is just about training your mind. Buddha Dharma is just about giving discipline to your minds, not more than less, just that's it. So that's why Buddha said, my Dharma is, training, just train your mind every day. This is my teaching. So this is, supposed to be all Buddhist people must always try to control your mind, always try to change your mind, always try to, develop the positive minds and reduce the negative mind. This is the, most important or main practice of Buddhism. But unfortunately, in this moment, most of the Buddhist people, most of the Buddhists, include me, we spend a lot of time about just religious activities rather than the, training our own mind, putting good discipline with our minds. It's kind of little opposite. So since you learn little bit about mind and mental factor, always try to, control your mind. Always try to put discipline with your mind. And also, there are very nice sentences which is written by Shantideva. That he said in the Bodhicitta, right? Avatara, Bodhisattva Avatara life. He said, you cannot cover by leather for all space, all land, which is a lot of steam. If you are able to cover with the leather, with your own feet, that means look like you cover all the land by leather. So look at, we wish to have a world peace, harmonious. But first we should have a world, peaceful mind yourself. When you have a peaceful mind, then the people who live with you, who live next to you, they will have a peaceful mind. Then the second people who stay with next people, they have a peaceful mind. They have a harmonious mind within them. So look at the leader who lead the nation, the religious leader who lead the religious people. Everybody talks about harmonious, peaceful world. So without putting discipline each people's mind, it is impossible to have a world peace, harmonious. So before we talking about the harmonious for whole nation, first we should have a harmonious within yourself, within your families, within your like a life partner and colleague, so and so. So it is so important to know about the minds. And also, it is so important to know what is the cause of the positive minds. What is the cause and condition of the negative minds? Once you know, those are the cause of negative minds, then for you it's so easy to reduce negative minds because you know the cause. When you can do the cause, then there's no more negative minds. Also, once you know all these are the positive cause of the positive minds, when you have the cause of the positive minds, then definitely, automatically, you will have the positive minds. So now we talk more about like minds and mental factors. Before we go like mental factors, I have a just small chart here. So this is number one. This dark is like a minds, like a consciousness. So we can have a 6 different ways. We can divide the minds into 6 different ways. So mind is not only one. The consciousness is not only one. So the consciousness we can divide in 6 different ways. Okay, it's very clear. Like consciousness or awareness or minds. The 6 first. So I have a Tibetan book, so I will explain you based on like the Tibetan book about mind's mental factors. First, a consciousness we can divide into 2 ways. One mind's, half of the mind can aware their own, their own object. For example, the air consciousness must aware the sound. But some minds is mind's consciousness, but they're not able to aware. They're not able to, comprehend the object. For example, all the negative minds include attachment, desire. They are consciousness, but they're not able to aware any particular object. Because all the negative emotions are like a, faulty mind. They don't have a kind of particular object. they can aware, but they can focus but not able to aware. This means all consciousness may be aware of their own object, not aware anything. First. Second, the consciousness, the awareness, we can divide into like a 7 different way. 7. This is a little number, big number. Okay, numbers, we have this is number 2, right? Number 2, the consciousness, the awareness, the minds, we can divide into 7 different ways. Is clear? Okay. So this is kind of, the upper part is, look at, the upper part is the consciousness which is aware their own object. It can has, you can divide into 2. One can aware the object, directly. One consciousness aware the object but indirectly. So the consciousness which is aware that their particular object, it is a 6. Like it can divide into 6. The 5 like the senses, eye consciousness, air consciousness, they always must aware the object very directly. The sound always aware the through air consciousness very directly. There are 5, right? The number 6, they call the man minds, the 6th mind. The 6th mind also aware the object, but there's 2 different ways. One can aware the object directly, one cannot aware the object directly, it aware indirectly. The 5 senses always directly. That 6 mind into 2. So I don't want to talk more about that. Second, we move the consciousness divided into 7. Within the number 7, okay, so you should think, all the consciousness must group into 7, not more than 7. 2 as well as 7. The number 1 we call here, like Tibetan called Iju. For example, you have a doubt, this like a marker plan is impermanent or permanent. You have a doubt. Then through your analysis, through your investigation, through your study, then 90% sure, not 100%, 90% sure the marker pen is impermanent. Even though that type of consciousness, 90% sure the pen is impermanent, but not 100% sure the pen is impermanent. This kind of a type of mind. We call, each mean you almost sure this is impermanence. But if this kind of type of mind is not yet reached to kind of, valid cognition. It can aware the object is impermanent almost 90%, not 100% sure. This type of mind we call, each mean almost sure this is impermanent. These are type of minds, number 1. But we don't call that type of mind is kind of cognition. But when we say cognition, the mind 100% have to be aware the object, no doubt. First they have a doubt, Then maybe it's permanent, impermanent, permanent, impermanent. Secondly, it's short, it's look like impermanent, impermanent. Finally, it's short, this 100% impermanent, then we can call cognition. Okay, it should. Okay, number second, number one, the numbers, number two, thank you. Number two, we call Nangla Mangepa, Tibetan Nangla, there's two words, Nangla Mangepa. That means you are aware something, but you are not sure what kind of, for example, you are totally absorbed beautiful like a sound, beautiful music. You totally absorb your mind, the air consciousness to the sound, to the music. And somebody said something in front of you, you hear something, right? But you really don't know what they said. You got confused. Oh, maybe somebody says something, but I don't know. Or even when you totally absorb your eyes consciousness to the beautiful object, somebody said, but you didn't not aware somebody is waving in front of you, right? You're not sure. There's this type of minds we call, saw the object but not totally aware. They are aware little bit. So this type of mind is 90% sure they know this is permanent or impermanent or yellow or white or black. The second mind, they are aware roughly but not precisely. Is called, we say, perceive or seeing the object but not aware. Is the second type of minds. Then number three. So we call, in Tibetan we call Che-she. Che-she. This is 90% aware, the 90% sure the object is permanent, impermanent, right and wrong. Second is perceive the object little bit, but not 100%, not fully. Number third, Che-she. Che-she means look like that. Is first time when you see, the first moment when you see the pen through your eyes consciousness or through your sixth mind, the first moment when you aware the pen becomes this cognition minds. Second moment, if you look continuously this pen, the second moment of the mind we don't call this the cognition. It cognizes the object, but we don't call cognition. Because when you continuously looking at a particular object, 1 second, first moment, second moment, third moment, after one moment, second, third, fourth, we don't call cognition. We call it like a Che-she, means like a recognition. So the Buddha doesn't have Buddhas don't have a kind of recognition. He's always aware everything very freshly. Not, awarely, again and again. So when we perceive a particular object, first is because cognition, second is not really cognition, it's like a recognition or recall, kind of. Number third. Then number four. Number four is kind of, misperception or wrong view. Misperception or wrong view. I think it's very easy to understand. When it's misperception, you perceive an object, but you have a wrong idea. This we call misperception or wrong view. All the negative, minds must include into this also, like a wrong view or misperception, mistaken mind. Then number five, like a doubt about something. So we have two types of doubt. One is positive, one is negative. But many people think, the doubt is always negative. No. For example, if you have a doubt or Buddha exists or not, then we call it a negative doubt. If you think, the karmic condition or the karma exists or not, maybe when you say the karma exists or not, it's very like a kind of dilemma. It's also we call doubt. It's also negative doubt. And another doubt which is like a positive. When you think, this pain is permanent or impermanent, also doubt, we call it like kind of positive doubt. Because when you have a doubt, this pain is permanent, impermanent, if you have a doubt, then finally you can understand that pain is impermanent. It's bring more like a positive sides. That's why we call it the doubt have two, like positive doubts, negative doubts.
Can you elaborate more on the positive doubt and negative doubts?
So that's why if you have a doubt, Buddha exists or not, we call negative doubt.
Why?
Because when even though according to like the Buddhist tradition, when you have a doubt which is in fact is true. When you got a doubt, this means you got some kind of negative action in your mind because it's negative. Also, I think this is the reason one. So what is the definition of doubt? The mind which is have a true point. The mind which is have a true point. Right or wrong, exist or not exist, this we call like a doubt. It look like the doubt is look like a needle. One needle have a two prong. The needle which have a two like point, it cannot function as a needle, right? So that's one reason. Even though this kind of doubt not necessarily, you are not necessarily be like a negative, because even though some arhat has a very doubt about the subtle quality of the Buddha, very subtle activities, because some arhats they doesn't know the very subtle level of Buddha activities. This also we can call doubt, but like it's negative, because negative emotions, because all the arhat already abundant of the negative emotions, even though they have a doubt, but it's not negative emotion. The normal people, when we have a kind of doubt about Buddha exists or not, karma exists or not, but we usually call this kind of positive. But I really don't know why you asking the question, right? They put 1 second. Yeah. Then here they say, 1 second. Yeah. And doubt we can divide into 3 general doubt. One is very kind of balance, right and wrong. And sometimes when the doubt go only like this side, we can call, or let's say somebody have a doubt, this pen is permanent or impermanent. That means that one is going like this, right? Secondly, somebody thought, oh, the pen is like permanent. Then this kind of doubt is the negative. And somebody think, this is permanent or impermanent. Finally, they thought, the person thought, oh, maybe impermanent. If doubt, and also positive. Because in fact, this is impermanent. Because the mind is going towards the reality side.
So it's positive if you've got more positive.
Yeah.
Yeah, the doubt is only tiny.
Yeah.
But if it's more negative, I suppose.
Yeah, you are right.
You're only slightly.
Yeah. Look like, when a dot is like this, the negative always, they lead like the wrong side.
Yeah.
It got the positive, dot always lead to the like positive sides. It's a kind of very balanced dot, and what we call two linked is linked. So somebody think this pen is kind of permanent, is doubt, is negative. Somebody think the pen is impermanent, faculty thought is impermanent, then we call positive. Even though doubt is positive doubt, is also like kind of the good one. And also, there's a doubt because do you know what the six like poison mind? Six poison mind, right? So within the six poison mind, the doubt is one of them, right? That's why we usually when we count the numbers like six poison mind, we can call it like negative doubt. We don't count just doubt. We call negative doubt because doubt is not necessarily negative because there is a positive doubt too. So if somebody asks what are the six poison mind, when you calculate the doubt, you must say negative doubt. Right? Attachment, desire, anger, ignorance, then doubt, so and so. You must say negative doubt. Don't say just doubt. Why we don't say just doubt? Because doubt is not necessarily negative. Because some arhat has a doubt. Doubt about what? Somebody has a doubt about the subtle, very subtlest causes and condition. You can ask to Buddha, 6-7 billion years ago, where I was born, where I was. Buddha said, okay, 6 billion years ago you were that place with the dead family, this kind of land. If you ask, some arhat, which is not a Buddha, they don't know. They got a doubt. This is the doubt, not the like a negative doubt. Because arhat, negative emotion, because they already abandoned, clean all the negative emotion and negative thoughts.
Is that a doubt or ignorance?
Doubt is not ignorance.
Your example just now with the arhat, right? It sounds like more like ignorance than a doubt.
The doubt must be, it arises based on ignorance. The doubt itself is not ignorance. Ignorance also not a doubt.
Yeah.
For example, if I have an ignorance about the alphabet, if somebody say, oh, pa, it is alphabet or not, then I got doubt because I have an ignorance about the alphabet. The ignorance always arises based on doubt. So that's why before you accept anything about Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, Karma, whatever, first you must have a doubt. You don't accept very simply because it is said in the text, it is said in the summary, you need a doubt. When you have a doubt, then you have a question. When you have a question, then you have an ability to study, analysis, Then finally, you will find the truth. So doubt is always important according to like a Buddhist philosophy. So number 5 is doubt, right?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think there's number 1 missing. Five is doubt, right? So that's subject to Okay, number I think yes, we missing one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then we missing one number. Yeah, funnel is like a 6. There's we missing number 1 number here. The number 5 is doubt. The number 6 is okay. Number 6 again, I think the direct perception and indirect perception is have a two group. Number 6 have a, the consciousness we can divide into cognition, non-cognition, or direct perception, indirect perception. Number 6. There's a little not so clear here, so I will check tomorrow. Yeah, you are here. Number 6 have a true cognition and can you say no cognition or non-cognition? The cognition and how we can put the opposite one, non-cognition.
There's no such thing as non-cognition.
Maybe cognition, incognition anyway. So I don't know how to put.
No, there's no.
Cup and non-cup,
Yeah.
cognition and non-cognition. Anyway, so you just check with your English. So the consciousness also, have the cognition and non-cognition. That all the negative thoughts we must put in the not cognition. Within the cognition, there's a truth. I said in direct and indirect. The number 7 is quite. 这是 yeah, these are some yeah, you're right. So direct perception, indirect perception is very clear. But now we move the consciousness we divide into two. So number 1 is a true, number 2 we have a 7, number 3 is another true. Also, cognition and non-cognition is very easy. It's very easy way. The number 3 is little number 4. Number 4, the all consciousness also we can divide into two: conceptual thoughts, conceptual mind and non-conceptual minds. The include 5 senses are non-conceptual thoughts, or non-conceptual mind, non-conceptual consciousness. Why I said that include? Because within the 6 mind, there is a 2 types of 6 minds. One is also conceptual thoughts and non-conceptual thoughts within the 6 mind. The 5 senses is always non-conceptual thoughts, not conceptual consciousness. Within the 6 mind, they have a true, right? Also concept with a kind of conceptual thoughts or non-conceptual thoughts. So we have a true, all consciousness divided into true, concept and non-conceptual thoughts. Number 5. So, number 5, also, the consciousness we can divide into like a two. One, some minds perceive the object, without logic or without reasoning. Also, the five, five senses. And some consciousness aware the object through logic, through reasoning. It's, it's kind of, we call, the concept and the consciousness which is aware the object without logic and reasoning, we call the most time they aware, kind of, most time they aware the object which is impermanence. And the permanent object, the permanent phenomena, we cannot, aware, we cannot comprehend without reasoning, without logic, without study. Because we can see this cup, the lid of the cup, but you cannot see, the emptiness of this, this kind of lid. So in order to understand the emptiness of the cup, emptiness of the lid of the cup, there is very much depend on the logic and depends on the reasoning. So, the number, like number 2, we have a 2, one, when they aware the object, is just aware very without reasoning, without logic. Second, also aware through logic and reasoning. Yeah, then so I will check one more, the number 6 and 7 tomorrow, like next class. So this also, like all consciousness, very easy. Positive consciousness and negative consciousness. The positive consciousness also, aware the object, non-aware the object. The negative consciousness is a lot of different emotions, so we can learn next time. The last one, the main, the important is that the consciousness we can divide into two. This book says man, minds, and the mental factors. So within the mental factors, so there's two different views. One says there's a 51 mental factors. Another view says 52 mental factors. Also, according to Theravada tradition, there's a more than 52 and 51. So we have a paper here. So what are the first, what are the first 5 minds, mental factors? What are the main, 5 mental factors? Do you remember? Universal, yeah. Yeah, can you count the number? It's quite easy, right? So, yeah, 5 universal mental factors. So, based on this text, they say the 5 universal mental factors. But this book says, here, always present mental factor, always present mental factor. What we call the universal mental factors, those 5 mental factors always, all minds must have the 5 mental factors, which are context, contract, discriminate. So it has a different number, a name. Okay, so everybody have this copy, so I will read based on this text. The number 1, contact. Okay, so I just suggest this one. This is another way we can draw. Okay, so this is we can call mind, right? M-I-N-D, right? Minds. So there's a 5. I think we must draw. So this is a mind. So context, number 1, see. Number 2 is feeling. Number 3 is perception. Number 4 is volition or intention. V, our I. And number 5, attention. Attention, right? So this is we can call mind, not mental factor. The context, feeling, perception, volition or intention or attention, those 5 we call mental factors, universal mental factors. That means all minds have those 5 mental factors. If one of is missing within the mind, then the mind cannot function fully. Right? So, what does mean contact? Context means, it doesn't matter positive minds or negative minds, they always have to contact kind of, object. For example, when you touch your like hand on this like a ball, you have to touch. Then you can feel it's soft or rough or what kind of. Also, when your mind, when you remember a particular object, that means your mind is contact. Your mind is contact to the object. You don't have to really touch physically. Contact. So without contact, then there is no feeling. Okay, so we have a 5 we call universal mental factor. Universal meaning all minds must have all these 5. Okay, so now we talk a little bit about the context. Okay, then contact also divided into 2 groups. We can call physically contact or mental contact. The 5 senses we call the physically contact, because the 5 senses very much depend on the 5 5 faculty or 5 organs. The 6th mind, when you touch the object, then we call it mentally contact. Think about in order to hear the sound must have to touch to the air. The smell must have to go through the nose. This we call the physically context. And there's another very interesting. There's 5 senses, right? First one was we call eyes consciousness, eyes, then air, then nose, then tongue, then body. There's an odor. Why? You can see the object from far away. 10 or 20 kilometers, you can see it. That does mean the eyes consciousness is more, functions strongly than the air consciousness. So you can see, somebody is jumping in here over there, but you cannot cannot hear the sound. When you go more closer, then you can hear the sound. So first, eyes able to aware the far away. The second is sound. And second, the third, the smell. So you can understand somebody cooking something in the kitchen when you smell the particular food. So it's more closer than the other function, consciousness. The final, the taste. You have to touch the food with your tongue, right? Without touching tongue, you cannot feel the taste, and the physical body too. But the sixth mind is not like the five senses. Even though you stay here, if somebody, have an experience about Dharamsala, when you just imagine, you can feel it, the weather, the people, the environment. You don't have to touch the particular object. So if you compare the five senses and the 6 months, 6 months is more, function quicker than the five senses. Okay, touch. The number second is feeling. So feeling, when you touch, then you have a feeling. So feeling, we have three different types of feeling. Pleasant, unpleasant, very neutral. Here you can learn, so look at, so when you have a pleasant feeling, you don't want to lose the pleasant feeling. You really want to have all the time the pleasant feeling. Then you have a little attachment, then you have more attachment and more attachment. Because you feel it's very pleasant. When you have an unpleasant feeling, you don't want, you really, you want to stay a little away with unpleasant. Then the anger arising. When you have a pleasant feeling, attachment arising. Arise attachment. When you have an unpleasant feeling, then anger and hatred arising. So whole our life, so we are just fighting with the pleasant, unpleasant. So we don't want to lose the pleasant feeling. That's why we work so hard to have the pleasant feeling all the time with us. But we cannot have, so difficult to have the pleasant feeling all the time. That's why someday we have regret, someday we have angry, someday we have headache, someday we have a lot of fatigue. So attachment and desire always arise based on pleasant feeling. Anger or hatred always arising with the unpleasant feeling. So here one question for everybody. We already talk about hatred, anger. So what is the differences between anger and hatred? Somebody, I hate you, right? So I'm really angry about you. So what's the differences between anger and hatred? So which one is arising first? Anger. Okay. So everybody says first anger, second hatred. If you don't hate someone, how you can have anger? You hate something, right? So in Tibetan we say, Kongro Zedang. Kongro is anger. Zedang is the hatred. So we always argue, if I don't hate someone, if I don't dislike someone, then there's no way I can have I have anger. But deep down, you dislike to someone, you dislike the food, you dislike the environment, or deep down you hate, when you encounter the people, then you have a very strong angry.
You don't have to, you can dislike something or hate something without being angry about it, can't you?
Yes, for example, somebody offer you, you order very new food. You really don't know anything about. Like you order a particular food in the restaurant. When you touch the food, you don't like, right? Then anger arising. So I think the anger is kind of when the hatred become more stronger, then we can call anger, or the person is very angry. The hatred always remains in very invisible way in your minds. Hate. Look at, if you hate someone, first is okay, you can stay with the person, or you can have the object, and finally when you have little talk together, then hatred become more stronger, then you have a fight. Then we call anger, or the person is angry. I'm very angry because deep down I hate you. So there's a questionable which one arises first, what's the differences between anger and hatred. So whatever the hatred, anger always arising with the unpleasant feeling. For me, I think very interesting, So whatever we do day-to-day life, we always do in order to have a pleasant feeling. We always, what we call, push the unpleasant feeling. So we have been doing this whole life. Right? That's why, very interesting, within the fourth school, the first, I think, what's the first school name? No, Suwa is second. First school, even though within the fourth school, the first school said, attachment, the desire is the root of the samsara. Root of the samsara. No. Anyway, I think you can see the first school. The first school is very basic school, but they said, attachment, desire is the root of the, problem, root of the samsara. And they give an example. When you have an attachment to, particular object, particular person, then you cannot see the reality of the object, reality of the person. For example, they say if you pour a oil on the paper, you cannot write anything. That's why the Chadamawa or the first school, they say desire is the root of the samsara, root of the problem. So feeling. Okay, then when you have a feeling, then you have a discrimination, right? Discrimination? Yeah. Yeah, discrimination. Yeah. So when you have a feeling, touch feeling, then you can say this is good, this is bad, this is so, then discrimination come. And also one important, I forget to tell you, so this is we call mind, the feeling, the contact, feeling, perception, we call mental factors. Both of these, is consciousness, right? Why we call this is mind? Why we name this is mind? Why we named this is a mental factor? Why? Because both is consciousness. So what's the differences? So according to Abhidharma, text, they said the main mind, when you focus, particular object, particular person, is whole is focused as a whole, not particular way. For example, when you enter in the garden, you just see whole flower. You are not really looking particular flower. Then later you can say, oh, this is yellow, this green and blue. So the minds always, capture as a whole, generally. The mental factor go more precisely, more particular way. That's why, when you first focus on the particular object, at that moment you don't have a kind of, pleasant and unpleasant. Then finally you say, this is nice, this is bad. So you should think in your mind always capture the object as a whole. The mental factor always capture the object in particular way. This is the differences mind and mental factor. So also one interesting, so the mind and mental factor are both, looking like a flower. This is a flower. So the mind, the five mental factor focus the flower, right? Focus, look at the flower, watching the flower. Is same, the mind also focus to the flower. The five mental factor also focus to the flower. But the contact to the flower, the feeling, oh, it's nice or not nice. The object is not different. Mind, the five mental factor always have to focus just one object. This object is one, not two. Okay, contact and feeling. Or the discrimination. Also, the discrimination or kind of final judgment, there's two types. One is, discriminate the object very precisely. Some mind discriminate, not precisely, roughly. The discrimination which is within the five senses, they make a judge very roughly. The discrimination which is always with the sixth mind, they discriminate the object very precisely, very detailedly. Okay, the discrimination, what's the number? Perception, right? Feeling, then volition or intention. The volition and intention, what do you think? Just generally, what do you think? What does mean intention? Not attention, intention. What do you think intention mean? In English words. Intention. When you have you kind of, you always intention means you always, kind of recall, you always hold the object in your mind. Intention. Or you have kind of strong desire.
Motive, is it motive?
Huh?
Motive?
Motive?
Yeah, is this a motive?
Kind of motive, kind of desire, kind of wanting, right? Urge mean?
Desire of.
Kind of, always wanting that, object or person, whatever, as a whole. Then, look at, for example, when first time I saw the pen, contact, and I thought, oh, this is a nice pen. then I have a very pleasant feeling. Then number 4, I have always hold the pen in my mind. Intention. The attention in always not only hold, you have to totally focus the particular object. For example, when you see the kind of new mobile in the shop, first you just look at, then you can see, oh, it's nice, and you have a feeling. Then when you left the shop, you hold the beautiful, mobile in your mind. Not hold, it's so difficult to forget. You totally focus. Yeah, this one number is we can call it 5 universal mental factors. Intention. Next, we have a same, right? We have another like a particular mental factor, or what is named in this book?
Object determined.
Yeah, 5 object determining mental factors. These are 5 object determining mental factor. Is also same, object ascertaining. What do you want? Ascertaining?
Asserting.
Asserting.
Right? Asserting here is which called, determining. It is same, another 5. Okay. Same like mine, there's a 5. We have a 5 again. What are the 5 based on this book, this paper? Number 1, desire, right? G, desire. Number 2, decision, right? Number 1, number 2, number 3, mindfulness. Number 4, wisdom, W. Number 5, concentration, right? Concentration. Okay, based on this paper, okay? So, based on this book, aspiration. In order to have, instead of G, they say aspiration, A. Here also desire, right?
Decision.
Decision. Is a appreciation. And number 3, memory and recall is very similar, right? Same. Memory or recall?
Yes.
Recall.
Mindfulness.
No.
In the paper it's
It
mindfulness.
says mindfulness. Paper.
M is mindfulness.
Mindfulness?
Yeah.
Okay. That means they go recall. The number 4, number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. Number 4 is the wisdom, is the concentration. C, concentration.
No. 5 is concentration.
No, based on this book. And number 5 must be you are already intelligent, yeah. The concentration is same, the CC concentration. So these 5 mental factors we call object. 5 object determining mental factor. Also the object ascertaining mental factor. But Tibetan we call Yulme Nga. This means this mental factor has a very unique function. Desire or aspiration, right? Desire, aspiration. So generally, desire have 2 types of desire. One desire is kind of totally negative, or one desire is very kind of positive. Also, there's a neutral desire. you shouldn't think desire always kind of negative. When we say attachment, then attachment is always kind of negative. Attachment. But desire, because everybody have a very strong desire about achieving enlightenment. We have a strong desire to have a happy life. This is a desire, not really, negative. So, desire, we have a three type, positive, negative, and neutral. But when we say aspiration, or do you think aspiration is negative or positive?
It's positive, it never associated with negative.
Always positive.
Yeah, positive.
Aspire.
Aspire. That's why in Tibetan book we call dunpa, aspiration, rather than the desire. Aspiration means, but I don't know, because somebody, teach you, for example, the army. All army, when they have a training, they have to learn how to use the, the gun, the pistol. And then the many army has a very strong aspiration. No? Very important. Somebody asking question, for example, even the Singapore army have a very strong kind of motivation to kill their enemy.
To protect, it's never to kill, it's always to protect.
But the protect, the meaning is same. I really want somebody going to, try to kill me. When I protect, how I can protect?
I can protect myself without killing.
Yeah, it's possible.
So the protect part does not come with killing,
Mhm.
but killing is definitely one of the acts
It's a
that as a result of
Mhm.
protecting.
Yeah.
It's just like the one direction.
Cause and
Yeah.
condition.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, but Tibetan we say the aspiration rather than the desire. Aspiration is always like positive mental factor. What's the number second? D,
Decision.
decision, and A for? A for appreciation.
Appreciation.
Appreciation. Yeah,
Appreciation is positive,
yeah, positive always, right?
but mental factor, you say determining mental factor, but then mental factor is not necessarily only positive.
No. But mental factor have a positive mental factor, negative mental factor. Because like anger is mental factor, not negative, not positive, it's negative. Not necessarily mental factor is not necessarily positive.
Yep.
Yeah. So, but Tibetan they use the word appreciation, or decision or appreciation. The number third is kind of mindfulness.
Yep.
Mindfulness, dunpa. But I think the Tibetan we can call, the like a recollection rather than the mindfulness. Dunpa, tempa, recalling. I think mindfulness, I'm not sure. The number 4 is kind of wisdom or intelligence. So generally, normally when we say, oh, he or the person is very intelligent, he has really good wisdom, right? So, what is the difference between wisdom and intelligence? Wisdom, because wisdom comes from the wise, right? The wise person, very wise way, wisdom. Look at, according to like a Buddhism, when we say wisdom always have to be like a positive. Shara, positive. If we translate as like intelligence, or intelligence have a two,
Yes.
right? The general wisdom we can use as a positive. Intelligence not necessarily be positives. The concentration is same. Okay, here now you have to learn aspiration or desire. I said desire not necessarily negative. Aspiration always positive. Desire we have three things. So what is the difference between desire and attachment? What do you think? Desire, attachment. So what is the definition or the meaning of desire? Kind of, the rough definition, rough idea about desire.
Wanting to be.
Hmm?
Wanting to be.
Wanting to
to
be. Okay, wanting to be like a desire.
Yeah.
And attachment,
Holding on to something.
Wanting to
Hold,
own.
grasping.
grasping. Okay, so it's very nice, wanting to or grasping particular, object or particular food or particular person. So, the definition of attachment, when you think about, attachment, you need the idea about attachment. You should think attachment would always have to focus kind of, not necessarily to be, the beautiful, but their own mind. When you have an attachment or the person, the particular object, you think is beautiful. First, you have to focus kind of beautiful object, because we said Tibetan because the cha, the means actually everybody say wanting is like the. I mean, I want this food, I want this clothes, this wanting. The second because cha means, you just not only wanting the things, and your mind always stick with the thing. And for you, so difficult to separate the thing and your minds. When you try to separate, the mind totally stick with the beautiful object. When you try to separate, it's for you so difficult, because you look, the object is so awesome, so beautiful, so nice. When you think, this is so nice, so beautiful, then for you so difficult to forget. That's why we Tibetan, in Sanskrit, that's saying the cha, wanting, and your mind always stick. It's so difficult to separate. This is kind of general, meaning of attachment. So we shouldn't mix, attachment and desire and appreciation. Also, what is the difference appreciation and wanting? Sense of wanting and sense of appreciation. Because sense of appreciation not necessarily wanting, right? Here, is another very important, we must learn appreciation. Lama Tsongkhapa says, also Buddha Shakyamuni said, if you want to accumulate great, karma, if you really want to accumulate great virtues and karma without having a lot of difficulties, without having a lot of effort, just you should have an appreciation. Because somebody, when you see somebody, doing a lot of prostration, reciting or practicing, you just appreciate about their activities. Then you accumulate very good merit. For us, so difficult to have an appreciation that people is totally, uneducated. And the people is not same level as us. Somebody very, very young, like a childish, if they're doing something good, for us it's so difficult to have appreciation. If you have this kind of appreciation for this, little Lord, that you accumulate a lot of merit. The middle also Buddha. I think within the 6 land, right? 6
Realm
no realm, 6 land,
of what?
like a prostration,
Oh, 6 limbs.
6 limb,
7 prayers.
7 limb prayer. Within there's one appreciation. So you must appreciate,
Rejoicing.
rejoicing who is the education level, your education level, you are their Lord than you. So appreciation is very, very, very important. Once you have, appreciation, so difficult. When you appreciate someone, that means you have a kind of respect, right, to the person. When you have a kind of respect to the person, then you must reduce your ego. Without reducing your ego, so difficult to have appreciation, ego, right? So look at appreciation and reducing is the best antidotes of the ego. But you shouldn't think ego is just one. There's a 9 different levels of ego. You know, someday you feel, I'm much better than the person, that person. Also ego, yes, we can understand. Someday you think, I am little, weaker than the person. I am a little, poor than that person. Or do you think this is ego or not? Yeah, because I think, I'm much better than that person. Yes, no, that moment I feel so proud about me. Someday, many times you can say, yes, I am little poor than the person. I am little weaker than the person. That person also is also ego. Because you feel little, you never think I am totally weaker. It's also ego. Appreciation is within the response. And also the third, the wisdom, concentration. Also concentration, so what is the differences between concentration and mindfulness? Just give your idea. What do you think, concentration, meditation, mindfulness, there's equal or differences? Mindfulness, concentration. Different. Okay, so I'm saying different. Different, okay. So, how many possibility between mindfulness and concentration? Or concentration must be necessarily mindfulness, or mindfulness totally necessarily concentration, or mutual point? Because we have been talking about mindfulness, right? Meditation, mindfulness, concentration. Because, before I explain that, I will ask another question. The mindfulness, the concentration, are they positive kind of consciousness or negative consciousness? Mindfulness, concentration. What do you think? Positive. Everybody going to say positive?
I think concentration can be negative.
Can-
Mindfulness is positive.
Okay. So everybody agree with her? I think most of you, right? Okay. She said, the concentration is maybe
Can be negative.
can be negative, can be negative, and mindfulness always be positive. Mindfulness. Okay. Someone, when they have to kill, someone, they have to concentrate. They have to mindful. Make sure I'm putting a knife at the right, right place. Make sure, I'm going to kill the person fully. Is this mindfulness or not? Because you say, you must mindful when you do something. The total your mind bring together in one place, mindfulness. So this is a very big question. Concentration and mindfulness is always same or different. So today we learn kind of 5 mental factor, which is 5 object determining mental factors. Also here, this and because all these mental factor have this, they have their unique kind of function, appreciation, and desire, memory, recall, wisdom, concentration.